Hey guys, it's Cassidy again. Hope you guys are all doing well. Today we're going to be reading Part 7 of Children of Blood and Bone. Chapter 15, Amari. I used to dream of climbing. Late at night, when everyone in the palace had gone to sleep, Binta and I would run through the painted halls by torchlight, skidding over the tiled floors in our trek to Father's war room. Hand in hand, we drew the torch over the hand-woven map of Orisha, a map that seemed as big as life itself to our young eyes. I thought Binta and I would see the world together. I thought if we left the palace, we could be happy. Now, as I cling to the side of the third mountain we've climbed today, I question why I ever dreamed of ascending anything higher than the palace stairwell. Sweat clings to my skin, soaking through the rough cloth of my black dashiki. An endless swarm of mosquitoes buzz and sting at my back, feasting because I can't bear to let go of the mountain long enough to swat them away. Another full day of travel has passed, along with, thankfully, one night of restful sleep. Though the weather warmed once we left Sokoto and made our way further into the jungle, I felt Zane lay his cloak over me again just as I began to fall asleep. With our new supplies, eating comes easy. Even foxer meat and coconut milk start to taste like seasoned hen and tea from the palace kitchen. I thought things were finally improving, but now my chest is so tight I can barely breathe. This late into the day, we've ascended thousands of meters, giving us startling views of the jungle beneath. Greens of all hues cover the land, creating endless canopies beneath our feet. A rushing river curves through the tropical brush, marking the only water in sight. It grows smaller and smaller as we climb, shrinking until it's only a thin blue line. How can anything exist up here? I ask between pants. I take a deep breath and give the rock above my head a firm pull. Earlier in our journey, I wouldn't test my handholds. My scraped knees are a reminder not to repeat that mistake. When the rock holds firm, I hoist myself further up the mountain, wedging my bare feet into a crack. The urge to cry wells up inside me, but I force it down. I've already hidden my tears twice. It would be humiliating to weep again. She's right. Zane calls from behind me, searching for an area wide enough for Nyla to clamber up. Just keep going. Zaylee calls from above. It's here. It has to be here. Did you actually see it? Zane asks. I think back to the moment in Mama Agba's hut, the moment the future exploded before our eyes. It all looked so magical back then. Seeing the scroll actually felt like a good idea. Stealing the scroll actually felt like a good idea. We saw ourselves climbing, I start. But did you see this legendary temple? Zane presses. Just because Mama Agba saw us climbing doesn't mean Shandomble is actually real. Stop talking and keep climbing, Zaylee shouts. Trust me, I know it's real. It's the same reasoning she's been shouting all day, the stubbornness that's carried us from cliff to cliff. Reality and logic don't matter to her. She needs this so badly, failure isn't even in the realm of possibilities. I look down to reply to Zane, but the sight of jungle trees thousands of meters below makes my muscles seize. I press my body against the mountain and clench the rocks tightly. Hey, Zane calls. Don't look down. You're doing great. You're lying. He almost smiles. Just keep climbing. My beating pulse fills my ears as I look back up. The next ledge is in sight. Though my hands shake, I push myself farther up. Sweet skies, if Binta could see me now. Her beautiful face bleeds into my mind in all its former glory. For the first time since I watched her die, I picture her alive, smiling and by my side. There was one night in the war room when she undid her bonnet. Her ivory hair fell in silky sheets around her head. And what shall you wear when you cross the Olesimbo range? She teased when I told her my plans for our escape. Even if you were on the run, the queen herself would drop dead before she allowed you to wear trousers. She put her hand on her head and pretended to shriek, mimicking mother's pitch. I laughed so hard that night I nearly wet myself. Despite the circumstances, a smile comes to my face. Binta could impersonate everybody in the palace. Yet my smile falls as I think of our lost dreams and abandoned plans. I thought we could escape through the tunnels beneath the palace. Once we got out, we could never go back. It all felt so certain in that moment, but did Binta always know it was a dream she'd never see? The question haunts me as I reach the next ledge and pull myself over. The mountain flattens out for a brief stretch, wide enough for me to lie down in the wild grass. As I drop to my knees, Zaylee collapses in a garden of native bromeliads, crushing the vibrant red and purple petals under her feet. I bend down and breathe in their sweet scent. Binta would have loved these. Can't we stay here? I ask as the clove fragrance calms me. I can't imagine climbing any higher. The promise of Shendomale can only take us so far. I lift my head as Nyla claws her way onto the ledge. Zane follows after, dripping with sweat. He peels off his sleeveless dashiki and I lower my eyes. The last time I saw a boy's bare body, my nannies were giving me and Enan baths. A warm flush rises to my cheeks as I realize how far from the palace I've truly come. Though it's not illegal for royals in Kosiden to consort the way it is for magi in Kosiden, Mother would have Zane jailed for what he's just done. I scoot away, eager to put more space between Zane's bare skin and my blushing face. But as I move, my fingers knock against something smooth and hollow. I turn to find myself face to face with a cracked skull. Skies, I shout, and crawl backward, hair rising on the nape of my neck. Zaylee jumps to her feet and expands her staff, ready to fight at a moment's notice. What is it? She asks. I point to the fractured skull, lying on top of a pile of crushed bones. A gaping hole above its eye socket signals its violent death. Could it be another climber? I ask. Someone who didn't make it through? No, Zaylee answers with a strained confidence. It's not that. She tilts her head and bends down for a closer look. A chill passes through the air. Zaylee reaches down, stretching her hand over toward the cracked bone. Her fingers barely graze the skull when I gasp as the sweltering jungle heat around us snaps to a freezing cold. The chill bites through my skin, cutting straight to the bone. But the icy rush only lasts an instant. As quick as it comes, it vanishes, leaving us bewildered on the mountainside. Zaylee wheezes like she's been brought back to life. She grips the flowers so tightly they rip straight off their stems. What in the gods' names was that? Zane asks. Zaylee shakes her head, eyes growing wider and wider by the second. I felt him. It was his spirit, his life. Magic, I realize. No matter how many times I see it, the displays never fail to conflict me. Even as Father's childhood mornings of magic resurface, my heart fills with awe. Come on, Zaylee dashes forward, scurrying up the next incline. That was stronger than anything I've ever felt. The temple has to be near. I scramble after her, casting aside my fear as my desire to reach the last ledge. When I pull myself up over the final cliff, I can hardly believe my eyes. Chandole. It's actually here. Moss-covered bricks are piled in mountains of rubble, coating every inch of the plateau. The destruction is all that remains of the temples and shrines that once covered this land. Unlike the jungle and mountains below, no crickets chirp, no birds squawk, no mosquitoes sing. The only signs that life ever existed are the shattered skulls littered around our feet. Zaylee pauses before a skull, brows knitting, though nothing happens. What is it? I ask. It's spirit. She bends down. It's rising. Rising where? I step back, stumbling over a piece of rubble. Another chill fills me with unspoken dread, but I can't decipher if it's real or just in my head. I don't know. Zaylee rubs her neck. Something about the temple is amplifying the ashe. I can actually feel my magic. Before I can ask another question, Zaylee bends down and touches another skull. My hand flies to my chest. This time it's not an icy gold that flashes around her, but an image tinted in gold. Magnificent temples and towers rise. Stunning structures adorned with elegant waterfalls. Dark men, women, and children in fine suede robes roam, beautiful lines and symbols dotting their skin in elegant swirls of white. Though the flash only lasts an instant, the image of the lush ground stains my memory as I look at the broken rubble before me. Chernobyl used to be radiant. Now it's only air. What do you think happened here? I ask Zaylee, though I fear I already know. Father already destroyed the beauty of magic in my life. Why wouldn't he have done the same throughout the world? I wait for Zaylee to answer, but she doesn't respond. Her face hardens with each passing second. She's seeing more, something I can't. A soft lavender light begins to glow from her fingers, surfacing as she explores her powers for the first time. Watching her, my curiosity builds. What else can she see? Though the thought of magic still makes my pulse race, part of me wishes I could experience its rush just once. The rainbow that bursts from Binta's hand begins to fill my mind until I hear Zane call. Check this out. We follow his voice until we're facing the only standing structure on the mountain. The temple towers into the sky, built against the ledge of the last rock's incline. Unlike the stone bricks, this structure is crafted from a blackened metal, streaked with yellows and pinks that suggest it once shone gold. Vines and moss grow up the sides, obscuring endless rows of ancient runes carved into the temple's frieze. Zaylee moves toward the doorless entrance, but Nyla lets out a small growl. Okay, Nyla. Zaylee gives her nose a kiss. Stay here, alright? Nyla grunts and collapses behind a pile of broken stone. With her settled, we walk through the opening and greet a magical aura so thick I can even feel its weight in the room. Oh, even I can feel its weight in the room. Zane scoots over to Zaylee as I run my hand against the air. The oscillations of magical energy slip through my fingers like grains of falling sand. Rays of light peek through the cracked oculus above, illuminating the patterned dome ceiling. The designs feed into rows of pillars decorated with colored glass and shimmering crystals. Why didn't they destroy this? I wonder as I run my fingers along the carvings. The temple strangely untouched, a lone tree in a scorched forest. See any doors? Zane calls from the other side of the room. Nothing, Zaylee calls back. The only visible fixture is a large statue pressed against the back wall, collecting dust and overgrown vines. We walk over, and Zane runs his hands over the weathered stone. The statue appears to be that of an elderly woman, cloaked in rich robes. A golden crown sits in her sculpted white coils, the only untarnished metal in sight. Is it a goddess? I ask, inspecting the sculpture up close. In all my years, I've never seen a rendering of a single deity. No one would dare place one in the palace. I'd always assumed that the first time I saw a god or goddess, it would be depicted as like the royal portraits hanging in the main hall. But despite its tarnish, this statue holds a regal air even the most stunning painting could achieve. Sorry, guys. Okay. What's this? Zane points to an object in the woman's hand. It looks like a horn. Zaylee reaches up to inspect it. It's strange. She runs her hand along its rusted metal. I can almost hear it in my head. What's it saying? I ask. It's a horn, Amari. It's not saying anything. My cheeks flush. Well, if it's a sculpture, it shouldn't be making sounds at all. Just be quiet. Zaylee hushes me and places both hands on the metal. I think it's trying to tell me something. I hold my breath as her brows pinch. After a few long moments, her hands begin to glow with a glittering silver light. The horn seems to feed on her esche, glowing brighter as she strains. Be careful, Zane warns. I am, Zaylee nods, though she begins to shake. It's close. It just needs one more push. A slow creak rumbles under our feet. I yelp at the sound. We whip around in surprise as a large tile slides away from the floor. The opening reveals a staircase spiraling down into a room so dark it masks everything in blackness. Is it safe? I whisper. The darkness makes my heartbeat spike. I lean down to get a better look, but there isn't a source of light in sight. There's no other door, Zaylee shrugs. What choice do we have? Zane runs outside, returning with a charred femur bone wrapped into a torn bit of his cloak. Zaylee and I recoil, but he brushes past us and lights the cloth with our flint, creating a makeshift torch. Follow me, he says, his commanding voice diminishing my fear. We begin our descent with Zane leading the way. Though the torch's bubble of light illuminates our steps, it touches nothing more. I keep a hand on the jagged wall, counting my breaths until we finally reach the next floor. The moment my foot leaves the last step, the opening above us slams shut with a deafening crack. Skies! My shriek rings through the darkness. I fling myself into Zaylee. What do we do now? I tremble. How do we get out of here? Zane turns to run back up the stairs, but stops when we hear a hissing in the air. Within seconds, his torch blows out, leaving us in total blackness. Zane, Zaylee shouts. The hiss grows louder until a warm gust of air hits me like rain. When I inhale, it instantly slows my muscles and begins to cloud my mind. Poison, Zane manages to croak before I hear the thud of his body hitting the ground. I don't even have a chance to feel afraid before the darkness takes hold. Chapter 16. Enon. A hush cuts through the air when my legion descends into Sokoto. It doesn't take too long to figure out why. We're the only guards in sight. Where are the patrols? I whisper to Kaya. The silence is deafening. It's like these people have never laid eyes on the Orishan seal. Skies only know what Father would do if he witnessed their complete lack of respect. We dismount our riders by a lake so clear it reflects the surrounding trees like a mirror. Lula gnashes her teeth at a group of children. They scamper away as she takes a drink. We don't post guards at traveling settlements. It would be a waste with the residents changing every few days. Kaya unlatches her helmet and the wind runs through her hair. My scalp itches to feel the same, but I have to keep my white streak hidden. Find her. I inhale the clean, brisk air, trying to forget about my streak, if only for a moment. Unlike the heat and smog of Lagos, this small settlement is fresh, revitalizing. The cool breath dulls the burn in my chest as I try to keep my curse down, but my pulse races as I scan the surrounding diviners. I've been so focused on ending the girl, I didn't stop to think how she could end me. I grip the hilt of my sword as my eyes flicker from diviner to diviner. I have yet to see the extent of the girl's magic. How could I defend against her attack? And what if she fights with her words? A prick of terror hits, the magic inside me spikes. All she'd have to do is point to my helmet, identify the curse hidden beneath. Kaya would see my white streak. My secret would be out for the world to see. Focus, Enon. I close my eyes, holding the warm signet pawn tight. I can't keep spiraling. I have to fulfill my duty. Orisha is still under attack. As the numbers force order into my head, I reach for the curved handle of my throwing knife. Magic or not, the right throw will disarm her. A sharp blade will still cut through her chest. But for all my plotting and maneuvering, it's obvious the girl isn't here. Though there's no shortage of glaring diviners, her silver gaze is not among them. I release the throwing knife as something I can't place deflates in my chest. It sinks like disappointment. It breathes like relief. Take these posters, Kai instructs the soldiers. She hands each of the 10 men a roll of parchment inked with the girl's smug face. Find out if anyone has seen her or a bullhorned lioneer. You usually don't find them so close to our coast. Kaya turns to me, lips pursed in determination. We'll search the merchants. If they really came south, this would be the first place to gather supplies. I nod and try to relax, but being this close to Kaya makes it impossible. Every little movement catches her eye. Each sound practically makes her ears twitch. As I walk behind her, the strain of pushing my powers down grows with every step. The iron of my armor begins to drag like lead. Though we walk slowly, I can't keep a steady pace. With time, I begin to fall behind. I hunch over, resting my hands on my knees. I just need to catch my... What are you doing? I snap up, ignoring how my curse spikes at the edge in Kaya's voice. The tents. I gesture at the natural shelters before me. I was inspecting them. Unlike the metal poles and leathery hippo hides we use to build our tents, these are made with branches and coated in moss. In fact, there's a strange efficiency to their structure. Techniques the army could adapt. It's hardly the time for rudimentary architecture. Kaya narrows her eyes. Focus on the task at hand. She turns on her heel, walking even faster now that I've wasted her time. I rush to follow, but as we near the carts and wagons, a stout woman catches my eye. Unlike the other campers, she isn't glaring. She isn't looking at us at all. Her attention is directed toward the bundle of blankets she cradles to her chest. A child. My eyes travel down the woman's chestnut skin to the jagged rock clasp in her hand. Her terror surges through my bones, but her resolve is even stronger. Enon! I snap back to attention. I have to whenever Kaya calls my name. But as I reach the merchant wagons, I glance back at the woman. shoving my curse down despite the way it makes my stomach burn. What does she have to fear, and what business would I have with her child? Wait, I stop Kaya as we pass a merchant wagon, pulled by one-horned chitiners. The spotted creatures gaze at me with orange eyes. Sharp fangs peek from behind their black-lined lips. What? A turquoise cloud hangs around the doorway, bigger than the ones that have been appearing. This one has a wide selection. I try to keep my voice light as we approach. Though I fight my magic, her smell surrounds me when I pass through the cloud. The diviner appears in my mind fully formed, dark skin almost luminescent in the Sokoto sun. The image lasts only a moment, but even a flicker makes my insides turn. The magic feels like a parasite in my blood. I straighten my helmet as we walk through the wagon store. Welcome, welcome. The wide smile of the elderly merchant drips from his dark face like wet paint. He stands, clenching the sides of the wagon for support. Kaya shoves the scroll in his face. Have you seen this girl? The merchant squints and cleans his spectacle against his shirt. Slowly, buying time. He takes the sheet. I can't say I have. Droplets of sweat form on his brow. I glance at Kaya. She notices too. Doesn't take magic to tell this fool's lying. I walk around the small wagon, searching, knocking over goods to get a rise. I spot a tear-shaped bottle of black dye and slip it into my pocket. For a while the merchant stays still. Too still for someone with nothing to hide. He tenses when I near a crate, so I kick down with my foot. Wood splinters fly. An iron safe is revealed. Don't. Kaya pushes the merchant against the wall and searches him, tossing a ring of keys my way. I test each of the locks of the hidden safe. How dare he lie to me? When the right key fits, I slam open the vault, expecting to find an incriminating clue. But then I spot the jewels of Amari's headdress. My breath catches in my throat. The sight takes me back, bringing me back to the days when we were kids. The first day she wore this. The moment I hurt her. Not a day passed when Amari didn't wear that tiara. The only fight with Mother she ever won. It would take a gorilla to rip it off her head. For this to be here, my sister would have to be dead. I shove Kaya aside and thrust the blade against the merchant's neck. Enan. I silence Kaya with my hand. This isn't the time for rank or discretion. Where did you get this? The girl gave it to me, the merchant croaks. Yesterday. I grabbed the parchment. Her? No, the merchant shakes his head. She was there, but it was another girl. She had copper skin, bright eyes like yours. Amari. That means she's still alive. What did they buy? Kaya interrupts. A sword, some canteens. It seemed like they were going on a trip, like they were headed to the jungle. Kaya's eyes widen. She rips the parchment out of my hands. It has to be the temple. Chandamle. How close is it? A full day's ride, but let's depart. I grab the headdress and make for the door. If we ride fast, we can catch them. Wait, Kaya calls. What shall we do with him? Please, the merchant trembles. I didn't know it was stolen. I pay my taxes on time. I'm loyal to the king. I hesitate, staring at the pitiful man. Enan? Kaya asks. She puts her hand over her blade. I need to give the order. I can't show weakness. Duty before self. Please, the merchant begs, latching onto my hesitation. You can take my cart. You can take everything I have. He's seen too much, Kaya cuts in. Just hold on. I hiss, pulse pounding in my ears. The burnt corpses and Alluran flash into my mind. The seared flesh, the crying child. Do it, I push myself. One kingdom is worth more than one life. But too much blood has already been spilled. So much of it by my own hands. Before I can say anything, the merchant sprints for the exit. One hand makes it to the door. Crimson explodes in the air. Blood splatters across my chest. The merchant tumbles to the ground, collapsing with a dense thud. Kaya's throwing knife sticks out of the back of his neck. After a shuddered breath, the merchant bleeds in silence. Kaya eyes me as she bends down, extracting her knife as if pulling the perfect rose from a garden. You mustn't tolerate those who get in your way, Enan. Kaya steps over the corpse, wiping her blade clean. Especially those who know too much.